welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyaso. Tonight, outrage trails killing of 17-year-old girl in Yenagoa, Bayelsa State's capital. Senate and House of Representatives Appropriation Committees present report of 2017 budget before the National Assembly. Federal government seeks to reposition Nigeria's tertiary education system, inaugurates new governing councils of 23 federal universities, and gas explosions in Takoradi town of Ghana leaves more than 100 people injured.
And in business news tonight, federal government signs new agreement with Italy's Eni to build new refinery in Nigeria.
On sports news tonight, FIFA restates zero tolerance for racism in the wake of abuse suffered by Ghanaian midfielder Sule Muntari in Italy.
And from Abuja, trial of NNPC former Group Managing Director Andrew Yakubu begins, with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission cross-examining its first witness.
We begin tonight in Bayelsa State, southern Nigeria, where residents of Bioboro community today took to the streets in Yenagoa, the state capital, over the murder of a 17-year-old girl. The victim was said to have been lured, allegedly by her boyfriend, to a hotel where the crime took place. The police have launched a manhunt for the suspect as they make efforts to calm frayed nerves in the town.
Something disturbing has happened in Yenagoa, the capital of Bayelsa State. An incident that has sent the youth in Biobolo community into the streets. One of their own has been killed in the most gruesome manner, and now they are demanding justice. This is the picture of 17-year-old Amuroso Zeribe, whose life was allegedly cut short by a 31-year-old lover, who was her father's former tenant. Eyewitnesses say that the unsuspecting victim was lured to this hotel, where an assailant is said to have hatched this plan. The Commissioner of Police speaks further on what transpired.
We were made to understand that a boy came into the hotel room and to lodge and invited the girl, and in the course of lodging, I don't know whether they had a misunderstanding or not. We've not been able to establish the motive as at now, and the girl was stabbed severally. But we've been able to establish who the boy is because the owner of the hotel could identify him as somebody who comes there a little bit often. We'll be able to locate what we think is where he resides, the family compound, but we went there before that he had left.
The community is, however, not satisfied with the efforts of the police and are threatening to take matters into their hands. This town hall meeting is to map out an action plan. The youth representative issues a communique.
The situation is a very bad one. We will do everything humanly possible to smoke out the young man that carried out that bad act.
As it stands, the matter has the making of what could turn out to be categorized as a tribal affair, as Igbo traders in the area have been asked not to open their shops until this matter is eventually resolved. And that is when the suspect, simply known as Tochukwu, is apprehended. So the police have two urgent objectives here: to catch a criminal and diffuse any attempt to let this case degenerate into an ethnic clash.
The Appropriation Committee of the Senate and House of Representatives today laid the report of the 2017 budget before the National Assembly. At the commencement of plenary, the Chairman, Senate Committee on Appropriation, Senator Danjuma Guje, presented the report from the lawmakers. The Senate President, Dr. Bulokara Saraki, ordered that the copies be printed out and given to all members for a comprehensive debate and passage on Thursday. At the House of Representatives, the Chairman of the Appropriation Committee, Mustafa Dawaki, also laid the report of the 2017 budget before the House in plenary. The committee is proposing a figure of 7.441 trillion naira for the 2017 budget instead of the 7.298 trillion naira proposed by the executive.
President Muhammadu Buhari presenting the 2017 budget before a joint session of the National Assembly. The 7.298 trillion naira budget was based on a benchmark crude oil price of $42.5 per barrel, an oil production estimate of 2.2 million barrels per day, and an average exchange rate of 305 naira to the dollar.
The proposed aggregate expenditure.
The legislature received the budget with the promise that it will be considered with a new approach to the budgeting process. And for the first time in the history of the National Assembly, a public hearing was convened on the 2017 budget. With the committees working hard to present the budget proposal to the National Assembly for consideration, news filtered in that parts of the budget had been seized by the Nigerian police.
They took my laptop, and to make matters worse, they took 18 files from my office. As I told you, we are holding the meeting on the budget on Thursday. So from Thursday to now, we will not be able to meet because some of the papers are not around. We could not keep to the timetable you gave us to lay the budget yesterday to get it passed today. And I think it is not our own fault. It is the fault of the police. The police interfered with the whole budget process.
The police eventually returned those documents. Now, almost 6 months later, and after several promises, the budget is finally being presented.
I rise to present the report of 2017 Appropriation Bill, having been worked by the Committee on Appropriations and arising from the work of the various standing committees and subcommittees of the Committee of Appropriation. Mr. Speaker, I so submit.
Both committees are proposing an increase to the 2017 budget to bring it to 7.441 trillion naira and a benchmark crude oil price of $44 per barrel. It is expected that the lawmakers will consider the report on Thursday, after which it will be passed by both houses. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
Well, the Chairman House Committee on Appropriation, Mustafa Dawaki, is here with us, and he joins me now from Abuja. Thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's just go straight into it and look at the figures. For instance, we see an increase from 7.298, as was said in the report, to 7.441 trillion naira. Why is that? What's the reason for that?
Thank you very much. The increase in the total budget is as a result of the $2 increase that we increased in the benchmark price of crude oil from $42.5 to $44.5.
Yes, I know there is that discrepancy in the figure. How did you come about that, as that is different from what the executive presented?
There is a difference of that translate into $131 billion that is added to the total of 7.2 trillion that was presented by the president. So whatever difference you see is as a result of the increase of $2, which is converted into naira and translated into the current 7.441 trillion naira.
All right. I know that you said you had met with ministers to work on this particular document. Did you also work with the executive as well, to avoid things that we see in terms of returning the bill and the back and forth that normally happens during the passage of the budget? Just talk us through the process.
Yeah, we have done that even at the initial stage, and we actually worked together with the Minister of Budget and DG Budget and the Minister of Finance, together with the National Assembly and the two senior special assistants to the President on the National Assembly, both Senate and House. And we agree on a lot of things, and I believe that what we have agreed is what we have done in the budget process. Just like for the first time in the history, National Assembly conducted a public hearing, which we call a people's budget, and people were given the opportunity to come and present and express their views on the national budget, and which we translated into the budget.
All right, looking at the 2016 budget now, I mean, that's still running. It is going to expire pretty soon. How confident are you that the 2017 budget is going to come on stream before that happens?
The 2016 budget has already expired. The account has been closed because the budget for 2016 was assented on the 6th of May 2016, and the budget expires on the 5th of May 2017. So that one has already been closed, and there's no any further implementation of 2016 budgets. Okay,
so hence the rush. Thanks for clearing that up. Looking at it once again, even though we know our focus is the 2017 budget, it was mired in controversy talking about the padding issue. What are you doing differently this time around for us not to have such issues when you're done? I can see you're smiling already. Is that a difficult question?
The word padding, it's an alien word to the legislature, and we don't actually look at it as part of legislative language. And what I know is that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Fiscal Responsibility Act has given the National Assembly the power to tinker with the budget, the power to amend, insert, the power to remove, or even to add new projects, depending on which project is a priority. Maybe the executive, what they have submitted, maybe there are other things that are priority that the National Assembly feels that, yes, when we take this project, it's for the interest of the nation, so we can add that project. Or maybe a project has been allocated amount that we feel that is high, then we can also cut part of that amount allocated to another project which we feel that it is in the interest of the country. So we are representative of the people, and we also represent various constituencies in Nigeria. So we travel by road, we travel by air, and we have seen so many problems, especially on Nigerian roads and various infrastructure. So actually, we normally sit down and expected to address these issues.
All right, thank you so very much. Chairman, House Committee on Appropriation, Honorable Mustafa Dawaki, for sharing your thoughts on the news at 10 tonight. Thank you. And we move on now, where the President, Muhammadu Buhari, has informed the Senate that his length of stay in the United Kingdom will be determined by his doctors. The President said this in a letter to the Senate, informing the lawmakers of his trip to London to see his doctors for further medical attention. In the letter, read by the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, the President informed the lawmakers that Vice President Yemi Osinbajo would coordinate the affairs of the country in his absence.
Dear distinguished Senate President,
for a second time this year, Senate President Bukola Saraki reads a letter from President Muhammadu Buhari informing the Senate of his decision to proceed on medical leave.
In compliance with Section 145(1) of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, I wish to inform the distinguished Senate that I will be away for a scheduled medical follow-up with my doctors in London. The length of my stay will be determined by the doctor's advice. While I'm away, the Vice President will coordinate the activities of the government.
A federal lawmaker immediately raises a point of order. He faults a part of the first paragraph of the letter, which reads, and I quote, "While I am away, the Vice President will coordinate the activities of government," end of quote.
Mr. President, I don't think in our Constitution we have anything like coordinating President or coordinating Vice President. It's either you are Vice President or you are acting President. And any letter should be unambiguous and very clear. So I'm saying that this letter really does not convey anything, because coordinating has no space or any place in our constitution. It's either you tell us, and we've been having letters like this, you tell us is the acting president in your absence, so that we know who to deal with as a Senate.
But the Senate leader counters Senator Ohabuwa.
President Muhammadu Buhari has done what the Constitution requires him to do, and I urge the Senate not to go ahead to discuss this because it's not an issue.
The Senate President rules on the matter.
It's clear the letter has referred to the Constitution and there's no ambiguity in the Constitution. So I don't think there's any issue there. No need for, let me first rule you. So that place, I'll have to rule you out of order.
In the recent letter to the National Assembly, President Buhari did not mention how long he would be away. Instead, he stated that the length of stay would be determined by his doctors. President Buhari first travelled on January 19th this year on what was supposed to be a 10-day holiday, but ended up staying for nearly 2 months. For now, the nature of the president's illness is not known. Linda Kibi, Channels Television News.
In part 2, after the break, mediator in the release of the 82 Chibok schoolgirls by Boko Haram says some of the captive girls have refused to be freed. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.